loud, Kevin. Let me try it now. That's better. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah. That's becoming the drummer for Def Leppard.
Okay.
Spinal Tap, I mean.
We ready? Yes. All right. Rob, you want to get started? You have the microphone in your hand.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry that we were a little bit late with our pre-meeting. Apologize. I'm Robert Dodig. I am well. I have no time constraints. My mom is sitting in Punta Gorda at the airport, and her flight is delayed, so I'm like, but she'll be all right.
If
it's canceled, then.
The weather's gonna pass. It'll be fine.
Inside with air conditioning and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and then all of her friends going to Albany, I'm sure. So. Missing is Michael Robichaud, will not be here tonight. I have no elephants, and expectation is make progress.
Hi, Amy Desimore, and doing fine. No time constraints, no elephants, and I agree, make progress.
Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Kelty, I'm doing well. I have no time constraints. My mom is on a plane flight here. Missing noted, no elephants, and expectations to make progress.
Hi, I'm Mike Gatewood. I'm doing great. I have no time constraints. Missing is noted, no elephants, expectation, make progress.
Good afternoon, I'm Ben Osmond. Doing great. I have no time constraints. Missing's noted, elephants none, and expectations to make progress.
Hello, Carl Burnside. I'm doing fine. No time constraints. Missing's been noted, no elephants, and expectation is to make progress.
Good evening. I am Helen Martin. I am doing well. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted. I have no elephants, and expectations would be to make progress.
Jessica Duncan, doing well. I have no time constraints. Missing is noted. No elephants, and my expectation is to make progress.
Ann Cole, I am well. No time constraints. Missing has been noted. No elephants, and I will go with make progress.
Shannon Johnston, I'm doing great. No time constraints. Missing is noted. No elephants, and expectation is to make progress. And I think one time we should do a challenge and see if we can do it without looking.
Next Thursday.
Of course, McIntyre, so I'm doing great. No time constraints. Missing has been noted. No elephants, and expectations make progress.
Thank you. Kerr?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Great to be back. Curve zone, I'm doing fine. No time constraints. We're missing Lewis Marek. No elephants. Mario. And expectation, make progress.
Kevin Daly, President of Teachers Association. I'm fine. I have no time constraints. I have no elephants, and make progress.
Missing?
Missing noted. And I would share where my mom is.
Actually, John said we don't have to do that every time.
Not if it's already been done. Why be redundant?
So I'm gonna put this from now on in parentheses.
Hi, I'm Jill Castellano. I am a teacher at Cypress Lake Middle. I'm the vice president of TALC. I'm kind of tired. It's been a busy week. I believe missing's been noted. We have no elephants. I have no time constraints, but my mom is watching on YouTube and she texts me a lot during bargaining because we didn't know she was the vice president of her union and spent the summer in jail after being involved in a strike. So she's always texting. And my expectation is to make progress.
Good trouble.
My name is Anna Whitten. I am a fourth grade teacher at Central Park Elementary as well as the TALC secretary. I am fine, but I'm also exhausted. No time constraints, no elephants, and my expectation is to make progress.
Good afternoon, my name is Shay Pearson. I am the TALC treasurer. I'm also the testing coordinator at Island Coast High School. I am doing as well as to be expected for any high school testing coordinator today. I have no time constraints, no elephants, missing has been noted, and I'd like to make progress. Good afternoon, my name is Rashonda Cologne, and I am thankful that it's from home Friday. And I'm also glad to be back. I was in Waco, Texas, watching the solar eclipse. Okay, so that was very awesome. I'm happy to be back. No time constraints, missing is noted, no elephants, and my expectation is to make progress.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Iris Grimaldi. I'm a licensed mental health professional. And as well, I have no time constraints, missing has been noted, no elephants, and my expectation is to make progress.
Hello, my name is Amy Johnson. I'm a sixth grade ELA teacher at Mariner Middle School. I agree with Anna. I'm exhausted. I'm not used to these 5-day weeks.
You have a long stretch now to go.
I know. Missing is noted, elephants none, and expectations, sure, I'll follow the flow and go with me.
I'm Christine Starrett. I am the K-5 art teacher at 14 Rivers Elementary. Doing well, no time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, make progress.
Hi, I'm Heather Rodriguez Wibbles. I'm the school counselor at Moose Middle School. I'm okay. Time constraints are none. Missing noted, elephants none.
I'm Amy French. I'm doing well today. I do not have any time constraints or other elements in my application, so I can make progress.
You have somebody missing too, right?
Mark.
Hi, I'm Donna Mutzenart. I'm doing well. I have no time constraints. And no elephants, and my expectation is to help you make progress this evening. Yes, I know. But you can't do everything. We used to have 2 of those, and somehow we ended up with this one, which is a pain. Yeah, very funny. That sounds like a dad joke. All right. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes. Does anybody have any corrections, deletions to the minutes from last time? Amy.
Yeah, hold on a second. Can I just say something quick?
Yep.
My bad I didn't send you the PowerPoint. Amy just told me I do have it. I didn't even realize I had it. So I'll send that to you guys. Sorry about that.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
I'm just waiting for the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
I can talk without it.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. We need it. Yeah, there's been lots of sidebars going on this evening on all sides.
Good to have her back.
We need to, Kerr also went to see the total eclipse in Austin. So he just got back too.
All right, so my attention was just pulled to the missing. Under missing, it should be LaShonda Hutchins Cologne instead of LaShonda Kelly. I don't know who LaShonda Kelly is.
You. She's in Apple though.
Is that what came back from the eclipse?
Is there something you're not telling us, LaShonda?
That eclipse had a lot of things going on.
Hers needs to say doctor before it also.
Okay. All right, so under story, and I don't know, maybe this is not the part where it was, but I asked a question about the private school money coming back from FTE.
Yeah.
And following the student, and it just says private school money does not get returned, but Amy said if the kids come back before the second FTE, the money is supposed to follow them, but it doesn't always. So, was it two different things, or was it the same thing?
I mean, what you just described is for sure accurate with what I said, I'm just not sure how it's reflected.
None of it was on the board.
Oh, it wasn't on the board. I'm sorry.
Whatever's on here was on the sheet.
Okay,
So,
all right. Okay, so on that same page 3 and 4, under TALC caucus report,
yes.
the fourth bullet was a question.
Oh, possibly.
No, question mark at the end. What are other districts doing?
Well, I don't put punctuation. So.
Even for questions?
Yeah. We're trying to be consistent.
I know, but I'm an ELA teacher. You're making this really tough on me, Rob. All right, well then my other errors were question marks also. So, all right, so the last page 404 for the option 1. Could we just add 10 to the article at the end? It says update.
Article 10, yes.
Okay, just added 10 to it, and then that's good. All right, thanks.
All right, did I see other hands, or we're okay? Any other corrections? Seeing no hands, can we all accept the minutes as corrected? All right, great, good to go. We have 3 articles on the agenda, Article 10, Article 7, and Article 5. Is there any particular order you want to go in, or do you want to just start as it's listed?
As listed, it's fine.
As listed?
Yes.
Okay. So Article 10, we have story. From anybody? Rob?
So we presented the bargaining authority that we received last session. We have subsequently worked through some prospective plans. I don't want to call them options yet because I'm not sure they are at that point, but
okay.
And if TALC is okay with us sharing them, we can go ahead and do that.
Okay.
As long as they make it on the sheet.
These are still story, not options.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to refer to them as options.
Right.
Oh, we have them post?
He's insubordinate.
Oh, okay.
I will try to use the word plan.
Go ahead.
So please excuse my voice, I'm still getting over a little under the weather. But I wanted to go over a few different plans. I'm going to try to say that word. One of the things that I heard from the meeting was a cost of living allowance. And I do have a comparison at the end that does a side-by-side of the different plans, if that would help. But this would be $1,850 across the board. Highly effective would be $1,335. Effective would be $1,000. And for the grandfather salary schedule, it would be $1,000 as well. And the minimum base salary would be $51,850. Plan 2. Yeah, no problem. And this is to get the conversation started, so as we go through these different options or plans, anything that you want to emphasize on or not, can always try to figure out which way. So Plan 2 would be a 4% across the board. Highly effective would be $667. Ineffective would be $500. And the grandfather salary schedule would be $500. And this would raise the minimum base salary to $52,000. Good to move?
Yeah.
No, I'm looking.
Yeah.
Plan
Yeah.
3.
I think they're just looking now. Maybe questions later, Kevin, but.
Plan 3 would be $2,350 across the board.
Sorry, Kevin.
No problem. Performance pay would be $667 for highly effective. Effective would be $500. Grandfather base pay would be $500. And the minimum base salary would be $52,350. Plan 4 would be $2,225 across the board. Highly effective would be $667. Effective would be $500. Grandfather for effective and highly effective would be $500. Minimum base salary would be $52,225. And we increased the ESE supplement by $1,000. And then here is just, oh, I'm sorry.
Rob is going to send this to you. He does have it. Okay.
And this is just a snapshot of all the different plans next to each other. And I have one more slide after this. It's the amount of people that would be, trying to look for the word here, impacted by a percentage base. I know 20.3 million was said, and it's a 5% equivalent. So I tried to break it down in the different percentages so you could see how many employees are impacted by that. So if you look here through the different options, so option 2 has the most 4% or higher. The different options that have a flat amount have a different range. So I tried to include the number, the minimum, the maximum, and the median.
If I can just add to that, at the bottom of this slide, it kind of shows the range of percentages that you'll see in each scenario. So therefore, in scenario 1, as related to a percentage increase, the minimum percentage increase that one would see in Plan 1 is 1.98. The greatest someone would see was 6.28%. And then with the median of that being the increase for people being 5.2, and then on across each of the options, right? So you see the range of different things in each of the different plans that would happen to different people within the bargaining group based on their current salaries.
Okay.
Correct. I did,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a moot point. Okay.
Okay. All right. Jay?
I noticed in Plan 3 that you looked to, or maybe Plan 4, but the increase of the ESC supplement, just out of curiosity, why you picked that supplement when all supplements kind of need indexing at this point?
Kevin, do you have the answer, or somebody else? Amy, Kevin?
I will do my best. But one of the things that always, I wish I had the data to show but we have a lot of teachers that are not wanting to keep the ESE certification alive. They are trying to not do that service anymore because it's a lot. So any way we can entice them, try to keep the teacher to hold that certification and to maybe even acquire that certification would be the incentive for that.
Okay, Shay?
Is there any interest though? So we have kind of two different types of ESC teachers. We have our ESC push-in teachers and we have our inclusive classrooms. Was there any interest of kind of, sort of I'm looking for, maybe give a little bit more for those inclusive classrooms versus those push-in teachers, or it's just across the board?
This was across the board, but this is a great thing to get the conversation started into which way you would want to weight more or less, depending on what's in the best interest.
Okay, any other?
I'll ask a question.
All right, sure.
I'm just curious where you see in your plans, where career ladder fits into all of this. Perfect. So then with the order, what would your order of operations be?
So the order of operations would be first, the COLA, then the evaluation, and then at the same time, it would be the ESE if that was part of it. And then in October, depending on when we would implement, that would roll around for that. For career ladder. Oh, I apologize.
No, I apologize.
So the first order of operations would be the cost of living allowance, COLA. Then the evaluation for performance. And 3 would be any supplements. And depending on when we come to an agreement, career ladder would be before or after. At the end of October, I believe, is what's in the current contract.
Okay. Anything else before we press on? Kirk?
I'm curious if you've looked at which one of these 4 plans best addresses compression.
So, loaded question, so I'm going to try to answer it as broadest perspective.
Wasn't trying to ask a loaded question.
No, so what I tried to do with the different options is the flat rate is obviously going to increase people on the coming into the district, and that will have more of an impact. And that's going to be a higher percentage for them. People that have been here for a while, that flat rate doesn't equal the same percent. So if you wanted to have the most, you would have to do it not by an amount, you would have to do it by a variable, which would be the 4%. And that's why option or plan 2, you see the most 4% or higher, but you also see the max is lower than everything else.
Amy, you have something to add?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just wanted to add to that, true and correct, but then under option 2, like, not necessarily, it doesn't make compression any worse. It doesn't necessarily alleviate any current compression issues. I don't think any of the options. Some of the options, I think, make compression worse because you get people that have been here for a shorter time getting a larger percentage based on the flat rates. But the option 2, or at least as I see it, does not exacerbate the issue any more than it is. We all kind of scoot the same.
That was a percentage or a flat rate?
That was with the percentage, the 2, the plan 2 or option 2.
Okay, thank you. Anna?
So looking at the
bottom row, max, medium, min. Is that, and even the percentages, is that only based on the cost of living? Because we technically don't, we're in a situation we've never been in before where we don't know our performance status. So is that just on the cost of living increase, or did you kind of guesstimate that?
Great question. I had to use last year's data. And what I was trying to do with that is it's pretty consistent about our evaluations over the years. And this was just to give rough numbers. So 100%, this is a variable.
Okay, any other questions? Kevin? Maybe. Okay.
Yeah, so thanks. And it was made abundantly clear at the last meeting that the board is the obstacle to more money, not the bargaining team. And so, not that I'm going to act like this isn't what it is. I think I'm going to act with the idea that it might be more. Again, I think when we looked at the ESE supplement, I think it was more around differentiation than it was a flat increase. I'm going to be honest with you, from what I hear from ESE teachers, $1,000 won't matter. I mean, it's nice, but it's not nearly enough. And it is about the money, but it's more about how they're treated and how they're backed up by the people in authority when it comes to ESE issues and problems in the classroom. But that kind of cuts across the board, but ESE in particular. So I'm not sure $1,000 would be enough to keep somebody who's on the fence or somebody who has never done ESE inspired to go get it. And again, I think Shay brings up an important point around the idea of the differentiation. There were other things we wanted to accomplish with supplements, which was kind of leveling out the mental health team. That of course isn't here, but again, I'm hopeful that the board hears what its employees are saying and really, I mean, I think I did the math, but the difference between last year and this year is, it's a 33% decrease, but honestly, between TALC and SPALC, the difference between the amount that was bargained last year and the amount that's bargained this year is like 0.6% of the total budget. So again, for me, it seems like that $14 million, is out there, but again, it's not the team that's taking that stance. Rob, you were very clear that the board told you it is what it is. Don't come back. And so that clearly means that we're going to have to talk to the board members about, why they can't come up with 0.6% out of their total budget for their employees. I think I did that pretty well, right?
Yeah, I think you made your point.
All right, cool.
How do you want to capture that you would like 0.6% more from the board?
I'm not sure how I want to.
14 million?
Between TALC and SPALC, it's around 14 million, which represents 0.6% of the total budget.
To equal last year.
To equal last year's. And we did a lot of good work last year with that amount of money. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's as a greedy kind of union guy who thinks people never make enough, it probably wasn't enough, but we made a really good head start into solving some problems. And if we're going to solve the supplement problem, not only in the ESE world, but in the head football coaching world, and the chess club sponsor, and the other staff members that bring real value to the experience for their students and their families, we're going to have to really take a look at, how much money we really have to devote to it. And it's just, it's that, I had a football coach email me the other day, when are we going to do something about football coaches? I said, well, that's interesting, because I want to do something about everybody. So yeah, again, to follow last year, so Yeah.
Okay. All right, Kevin?
So I totally understand what you're saying, but I'm trying to interpret what you have and potentially try to work with something here. Is there anything that you would like to see emphasis on more and come back, or a couple other things? Yeah.
I mean, I guess, so from the supplement side, and again, this is gonna cost, right? And maybe you can work with Jessica on this and Shayna, and kind of a differentiation based on, and I said Jessica because she used to be AC head, kind of the idea of differentiation based on service delivery model. You know, again, kind of leveling out the mental health group, the nurses and those kind of employees. We also had an interest in maybe adding the 2 tech colleges to the hard special instructor, the hard to staff, or whatever, the $4,000 special center thing, because they had reached out to us about, you know, sometimes it's hard to hire a teacher to teach nursing and welding when on the open market they're gonna make not just a little more, but a whole bunch more. And so again, kind of coming at this from that kind of perspective, you know, and then re-indexing, which I kind of know is about $3 million. You know, but again, we're getting into real money here, and we're 10 million short of where we were last year. And so, you know, tough choices have to be made, but I think at some point the employees don't want to hear that from either one of us. They don't want to hear it from me, and they don't want to hear it from board members and from district staff. They don't care how the sausage is made, they just want to have sausage. And so, you know, I think that's kind of the idea, but, you know, every dollar we put over there is a dollar less in the raises. And so I think that's why it's more important than ever to kind of squeeze every dollar we can out of the available sources. I think Kurt has a question too.
Iris has one too, so when you finish, pass it. Okay, give it the mic.
She might be asking my question.
Also, I think we made a commitment to continue to work on the compression issue, and I think that's really important.
Okay. Her, did you still have something you needed? Okay.
Wasn't my question. I would just go ahead and get my exercise. I was just wanting to make sure that I understood this correctly, that this would be, I guess irrespective of the kind of the class of the employee, like special instructional, everybody would get the same thing under these plans, correct? Okay.
Okay, any other questions, comments, part of the story? Kevin?
A reminder about the ESC 139 form. Isn't that what it was last time? Yeah, so if you could just get that. And again, I think we need that data too, and some other data to kind of crunch our numbers. So, yeah, just, and if you need me to send you a reminder email, I will. I know we just kind of brought it up out of the blue Monday, so thanks.
All right. Anything else? Yes, Kevin.
I'm not trying to create a bunch of work for all of us, but are you trying to do a variable percentage based on credible years of experience or years in the district? Or would you like that to be the same potential percentage across the board, or different amounts based on that?
I think the model we had last year, I mean, I agree. Kurt had mentioned this too, like 3 and 4 may possibly make compression worse, right? 2 is probably the one that is the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm, kind of just slide the scale, right? 1, I'm not sure because Kurt didn't tell me about 1 and I really didn't look, but I also think what we did last year also kind of addressed compression in a meaningful way, kind of by the variable percentage. And so again, and I'm just going to be honest with you, for me personally, compensation will be a last night issue. Because honestly, we are going to fight until the very last night to work with the board to see how they can't find a 0.6% increase for us, but we're able to do in 48 hours with no discussion and no scrutiny, what I imagine is probably a $250,000 package for a superintendent who quit. And it is what it is. And there's a lot of people who are really upset about that. And so, you know, you can't find 0.6% for the 6, 12, 13,000 people that stayed. But in 48 hours with no discussion and no scrutiny, you got $250,000 for a guy who walked out the door. If I quit, I'm not getting 250 grand. You guys quit, you're not getting 250 grand. We're not getting 20 weeks of health insurance, 20 weeks of retirement, and 20 weeks of pay. So again, you know, for me, honestly, we'll work these numbers in and out, and maybe we come up with options that include last year's amount of money. But for me, compensation is going to be a last night thing, just because we're going to try to get the board to see the light on how they should prioritize their employees that are staying over somebody who left.
Anna?
The new minimum base salary, is that just adding the cost of living increase to what we currently have? And then do we have those same like rules we always have to follow with performance pay and all of that still? I know some years we have lots of rules and some years we don't.
So what I've been able to look at is once we reach a certain threshold, some of those constraints no longer apply. So we have hit those, but there are other ones that we have to do, like the performance pay. So I tried to show different options on if you wanted to focus on that or not focus on that, and show how much of an impact it would have. But I believe this is meeting that language.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, Rob.
So is the last night, is that just a turn of phrase, or is that literally the last bargaining session we spoke of, I think, at the end of this month to get something done before July 1st?
That's an interesting question. I can't remember when the wrap-up date was. Was it the end of this month, or did we have a little time into May? I thought it was mid-May.
It may have been May, I apologize.
Right, and so, kind of both and kind of not. To be honest with you, we have not been as productive as we have been in the past in our bargaining sessions. You know, I'm hopeful we check off quite a few boxes this evening, kind of wrap some things up, but as I think in my mind, you know, 4 sessions left. Again, it is always our goal to have it out for people to vote on before they go away for the summer. Because that then brings up, you know, retro and and then we get on the state radar about the TISA money and get, you know, that kind of stuff. But again, if I have the opportunity to get $10 million more or more, August is okay too. So it is both literal and figuratively the idea that it would be kind of a last kind of thing.
Okay. Yep. Anybody else? Yes.
So shall I suggest we get to the portion of the meeting where we can get some things accomplished?
Yeah,
Yes.
that sounds like a good suggestion. I think we've reached the end of this one. And there's a lot to process here for everybody, so let's move on to Article 5, 7 is next on the agenda.
Yeah, if we could go back and you tell me if we're willing to go back to the dress code. conversation.
Okay.
I know I say that with trepidation. I believe we had an option, I think it was 5. That was the language from the administrative salary schedule. I think it was 5.
All right, we have the options here, so let's, is that all the options for dress code? 1. Do you want them all posted or just 5?
No, just 5. I mean, that's I'm only one of 40 people, 30 people.
Option 5. We do have all the options here, so if anybody wants to see any others, let us know.
Okay. It is lines 25 to 28. Would you like me to read it?
Sure.
Please.
It says, in order to model appropriate behavior for students, employees are expected to present themselves in a professional manner at all times in terms of dress and appearance. Employee dress and appearance shall not disrupt the educational environment or work site.
Okay, Rob?
Yeah, so obviously I put that up there for a reason. A couple of statements I think that need to be made because jeans was the topic. I will point out, this says nothing about jeans. I just want to make that point. This also says nothing about fundraisers, and I want to make that point. And this is language that has worked in the administrative salary schedule. So those are my points.
Okay. Anna?
So I would also like to make a point that while we had very lengthy discussions that were around jeans and that were around fundraising, the true is that the right?
That's right.
The true problem where all of that stuff really came from was the inequities between all of the staff handbooks across the district. And that's where that stuff came from, is that when we really looked into, and I didn't look at all of them, I looked at a handful of them. And I know we highlighted some of the outlier things, but that's where that came from, was the inequity in the staff handbooks. So that was where all of this was coming from, was from staff handbooks across the district.
Okay. Yeah, Rob?
No, Anna, thank you. I appreciate that. So I just want you to know that. I mean, I'm maybe premature with this, but I'm willing to test option 5 if.
All right, Kevin, just one thing.
So then this would essentially supplant the individual school dress codes then, right?
Rob?
This would be language that would be in the TALC agreement. Obviously, it doesn't apply to all employees other than the TALC employees. So there should be a reference to this language in the handbooks, I guess so supplant. I mean, am I gonna take away any autonomy from principals that they may have regarding certain things in their schools? No, because I don't think this is specific regarding certain things. It's language that we've agreed on in general. I mean, I think teachers, all staff need to be professional and set an example for students. That's what it says.
Want to pass the mic down to Iris, please?
Is there an interest to look at 5 and 7 so that 7 makes reference to equalizing all of the different school dress codes, which was the original problem?
I just need that.
It's the committee.
Okay. All right, that's 7.
Yeah, if it's the committee that which was our option, I'm not adverse to that. I know there was significant dismay towards that, or disagreement towards that, but I know we had disagreement towards language to begin with, and you modify your thoughts and you move along. So I think it's a worthwhile venture, frankly, to get these, and I'm not talking about just dress code. I mean, I think these school handbooks, we need to look at them for consistency across the board. I mean, Coris and I have had this conversation. I think it's important. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah, I also had brought option 8 over here. Labor management will form a joint committee to address issues in the staff handbook relating to dress code. Details to be determined. And Kerr, you wanted to say something?
Is that the one Iris you were talking about?
You're talking about 7. District will work with school administration for alignment and consistency with dress codes. And that apply in school handbooks, and will update TALC and labor management meetings for the 24-25 school year.
I mean, I think we can live with either one.
Okay, Kerr?
I'm not trying to be nitpicky. I have a question kind of on Kevin's point. Just with the school handbooks, I want to make sure that whatever goes in the school handbooks then would not be more restrictive than what is in number 5. Because number 5 would essentially be the law of the land. So hopefully, or do you agree that the school handbooks could not be more restrictive than option 5 if that's what is eventually ratified?
Well, I think the TALC contract, collective bargaining agreements are essentially the law of the land, right? Absent a statute, so, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? We had a thing to, yes, Kevin?
When you get done, we probably need 5 or 10, please,
Okay.
to caucus.
So just to review before you go to caucus, we have option 5, and then we wanted to be tested, and then we wanted a straw design of 5 and 7, and then 8 possibly. So if you want 5-10-minute caucus, remember your interest or staff morale, employee retention, compliance questions, manageability, and student achievement. You're going to caucus also. All right, 10 minutes? Yes, 10 minutes for both of you? Okay. All right, we ready for caucus reports? TALC, you called the caucus, so would you like to give us your report, please?
Sure thing. We discussed the option in relation to, all the other ones. I think we have a small tweak perhaps to option 7.
Okay.
But I think we're ready to move forward.
Okay. Rob?
Yeah, so, goodness gracious. We have had a conversation about 7 and 8, really, because our group, I think, at this point can all live with 5. But I can tell you I don't have unanimity on 7 and 8, so if we could just consider that.
Okay, maybe the tweak will help. That Kerr said they came up with. Maybe finish that up and then. All right, Kerr, you want to give us the tweak to, Anna?
Thank you.
So when we were talking about option 7, kind of going back a little bit to where, when and where this option came from. So the way that the option is written right now, it only specifically mentions alignment of the dress code in the staff handbooks. But I also, reflecting to what the comment Rob had made about really looking at them for some consistency amongst the whole staff handbook. I think that's important for it to, if option 7 or option 8, which I was reading quickly, but either one of those, if we were to add that as somewhat of a straw design or a separate option, I think doing so without it being exclusively around dress code, and rather the whole staff handbook as a whole. But I also want to point out through our conversations is that our intent is not to make staff handbooks across the district identical in any way, shape, or form, just more consistent on some of the issues. Because I also do think that some of the things that we've talked about throughout these sessions, there's been several things that have come up. And I know the importance of school culture has come up multiple times. And I agree, each school has a different culture, which makes each school unique. And that's where, in my mind, the staff handbook comes into play. What is unique and special to each school is also highlighted within their staff handbook. So while looking at issues within, or not even issues, but looking at items that are included within a staff handbook, why we may want to look at them for consistency or outline issues, but somehow also still being able to capture the culture and uniqueness of each school site. So I don't know what the tweak would be, but that's kind of, I guess that's a story. I don't know if that leads into maybe some of the conversation you guys were having around those options, or where we would go from here.
And are you good with this summary? TALC's intent is not to make staff handbooks identical but consistent.
While also allowing them to capture their school culture. I think that part of it is important to me to have there.
Okay, Kerr.
So I think, to piggyback on Anna, the option 9 would be option 7 without the words with dress codes that appear in. And just say consistency with.
So option 9, say it one more time.
District will work with school admin for alignment and consistency in school handbooks. next sentence is, district will update TALC and labor management for the 24-25 school year.
Okay, Rob.
So I'm asking Kerr, because this is now their option, I think 7 was our option. You're not looking for any contract language, right? That would be in the minutes and a yellow circle. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now I know before you asked to test option 5, Rob, before caucuses. Do you still want to test option 5?
Yes.
Okay. I have a request to test option 5.
Option 5 is.
That is the admin language.
Yes, in order to model appropriate behavior for students, employees are expected to present themselves in a professional manner at all times in terms of dress and appearance. Employee dress and appearance shall not disrupt the educational environment or work setting. I believe this is from the admin.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, as many may have surmised, I was probably the last one to go, to lean towards, living with. And you helped me very much with what you said a few minutes ago. Because every school does have culture and within that school. Because when I became principal at Tice, for instance, they already had a Friday dress down already in place. That culture was already there. When I became principal at Dunbar, I established a new culture because at Dunbar, because of the way we're judged, in a sense of dealing with urban, I will always want to push because I respect the teaching profession so much, but I don't want my teachers to look viewed upon lower than anyone else's. So we've always kind of put it that way. But when you said that and acknowledged that piece about culture, that was a very good point for me to hear. I just wanted to share that.
All right, thank you, Carl. So can I see 5 again?
5.
Thumbs for 5. All right. Oh, no, we have, oh yeah, it was, okay. I took a quick look out of the corner of my eye, I said, oh no. Okay, so option 5 it is, dress code is complete. So let us move some papers here. Yes.
We also test option 9.
Sure.
I don't know.
There yet, but I just thought I'd ask.
That's not language, that's procedural.
Yep.
No, this is not what will go in the contract. I think Rob and Kerr agreed that it will be just something that will be done.
Because there were things that we also agree with in terms of some of the issues that need to be dealt with, so.
Okay. So
Procedural.
this isn't exactly the straw design, but separately, but go ahead, Anna.
I just wanted to make a comment real quick that one of the things I did notice when I looked through just the sample of handbooks to kind of speak a little bit to Carl is a lot of the high schools have very similar dress codes that we're not seeing, that were in their staff handbook that we're not seeing versus the different levels. So that was something that I did going back to that culture was that it was interesting to me. A lot of the high schools had very similar expectations. You could also see the same thing in some of the middle school and some of the elementary schools. So it's not to, the intent is not to take away any of that, not to put contract language, just to look at them for some of those things that could be a little bit more uniform across the board.
Okay. All right, with that, can we test option, Rob?
Yeah, before we test, I just want to make sure that the parties understand that this work won't be done before August.
I
Okay. 4 months. I have enough trouble getting the minutes done for the next meeting, so. Well, yeah, we'll figure out how we're gonna do it, but I just want, okay, thank you.
Okay,
I just want to clarify that this option is a side note, it won't be, okay.
will not be in the contract. It'll be part of the minutes and some task.
It'll be an aspirational goal.
All right, anything else for option 9? Any questions, clarifications needed? All right, may I see thumbs for option 9? Oh, you need to see it? Option 9, district will work with school administration for alignment and consistency in school handbooks. District will update TALC and labor management for 24-25 school year. Option 5 agreed. Option 9 will not be in contract but in minutes. Okay?
Part of the history, I want the word about, because this is important to me, acknowledging schools' culture.
Can I add that to here, Kurt?
That way, that's part of the historical story and what the.
And culture maybe up around here. Including school culture maybe? Acknowledging school culture?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Robert, you need help.
We're squeezing things in at this point. All right, so Amy just added the words, district will work with school administration for alignment and consistency, acknowledging school culture and school handbooks. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yes.
Can we try again? All right, we are good to go. Thank you. Now, we have other things in Article 5. Rob?
I think we have an issue in Article 7, which is the additional student time. So I just want to preserve that. I don't need to talk about that right now. Because I know we're moving on from Article 7, but I don't want it to be thought that we're done with Article 7. Is that okay?
Oh, well, we're doing Article 5 right now.
No, I know, we were on 7. Right, and before we leave 7, I just want it documented that we still want to discuss additional student time. Not additional teacher time, but I don't want to bog us down tonight, so I just kind of a placeholder.
Okay.
So you're saying in addition to the things that we identified in Article 7, you all want to discuss that issue as well?
And we put the snapshot up there at the beginning, but I know we hadn't talked about that in 3 or 4 meetings, so.
We haven't.
Okay, so in Article 7, is the snapshots posted up on the wall, Amy?
Okay, I messed up here.
Yeah, and it's there, right there, increase student time to secondary schools, middle and high school.
It's already there?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
in the snapshot.
I see it. It's
First
already
thing.
in the snapshot. Never mind. Never mind. Yes, we were on Article 5. I know.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, we skipped. I was looking at the agenda, I'm so sorry.
Dress code is Article 5. So we went to Article 5.
Well, dress code was wherever we wanted to put it, because we didn't have language before,
Oh,
so,
well, it's
yeah.
listed in the Article
Yeah, yeah,
5 snapshot.
Thank you.
So we're still Article 5.
So we're still Article 5. So Article 5 also had language for employees that leave virtual school, timeline for mid-year transfers, and extended contracts for annual, that's done.
No, I think we want to move on to 7, right, Kerr? Is that?
The only other
you listed those 4 or 5 things regarding meetings and things.
Those were Article 7. I'm reminded of the mid-year transfer. If you want to do 5 minutes on that, that would be the last thing in Article 5. The LVS stuff got kind of wrapped into 7.
Okay. Okay.
Article 5, mid-year transfers, and I'll pass it over to President Davis.
I will.
All right, so, again, I think, are you ready, Amy? Sorry.
She's ready.
Okay. I think my intention here has been kind of clear for a while, that I would like some kind of things around mid-year transfers, while still nodding to the fact that, principals have the right to staff their building, and essentially the idea that you just get to go wherever you want to go without any kind of acknowledgement of that may inadvertently disenfranchise certain schools over another. And so when we talked about it, and again, I don't know, I guess I should probably bring up the language, right? 5.03, yeah.
Yeah, we did have some story on it already.
And
That's up here.
so, as I thought more about it, and the conversation we did have last time, essentially the concern is when it doesn't work out, right? I get a job at a new school for whatever reason, and the principal of my current school doesn't agree to release me into my new job. At that point, essentially, there's I'm trying to stay away from indentured servitude. There's an indeterminate amount of time that somebody can be essentially held in a setting they are no longer happy in and looking to get to their new placement. And we can talk about the reasons why people transfer schools mid-year, and mid-year isn't necessarily mid-year. Mid-year is anytime after the start of the year to the end of the year for me. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be the semester, but again, that's something that, again, in the interest-based process, this is more of a language at the table idea, with kind of the idea of maybe a starting point. And so Rob had mentioned a long time ago when we talked about this, the idea of the directors getting involved or the superintendent's designee. And so essentially the process is, my principal says, no, I need you too bad. There's no real time frame. At some point, the principals can, the new principal can get the superintendent involved, or the employee can write a letter to the superintendent asking the superintendent to get involved. And again, this is language at the table, kind of respecting a principal's right to staff a school and the employee's the employee morale issue as well. I'm looking to not necessarily automate that appeal to the superintendent's designee, because again, Rob had mentioned that every time it's kind of brought to that level, it works out. And so I'm willing to give that a chance, right? And so I think, and again, I don't want to speak for principals, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think sometimes among administrators, there's kind of this, like when a new school opens, right, you're not supposed to go after too many of your old staff. There's kind of this agreement around the idea that we're not going to rate each other, and we're not going to put each other in a bad light, in a bad staffing situation, when there's already a bad staffing situation around the district. And so the idea was to make that appeal to the next level kind of be automatic, but somehow make it be automatic on the employee. Not necessarily we have to track every transfer, or an administrator has to track every transfer, but have the idea that I take a new job, my principal has told me I can't really release you right now, I say okay, but in the back of my mind, I know out there's a deadline at which it will be appealed to the superintendent or the superintendent's designee without my new principal having to ask and without me having to write a letter. And again, this is, I think, a unique idea, and I don't think we find it anywhere else. So it's one of those things where it looks sloppy, and I'm explaining it sloppily because I don't necessarily have a good reference to go by. I think, I'm going to turn to Curtis' computer, right. So in adding to the article in number 2, it says superintendent's approval. It says if the principals do not agree to a voluntary transfer, and then I want to add, after 5 weeks of being offered the new position, the teacher may appeal to the superintendent or designee for a final decision, and again, the rest of it is all the same. So essentially, we're just inserting a timeline by which that will be ratcheted up to the next level for a decision. just because in the experience I've had, when it hasn't been ratcheted up, for whatever reason, principals won't call the superintendent to get a change, or there hasn't been a letter written, there really is no timeline around it. And I also want to kind of also nod to the fact that it may take 6 weeks to get an employee kind of out from the public, interviewed. It takes a while to post, it takes a while to interview, it takes a while to do the paperwork, even though I think we're streamlining, right? So I think there needs to be some acknowledgement of there is a period of time that the process takes with an organization this big. But it shouldn't be maybe 27 weeks, and it also shouldn't be maybe 2 weeks. And so that's really where I want to ask, kind of for the experiences of the other side of the table, the people that hire, the people that know the timeline, the things like that around the idea of there being some automatic appeal after a designated time, so we can get it to the point where the superintendent or the designee gets involved, and then the problem is solved. Because again, I think, I as an administrator would always rather somebody be happy, and if they're not happy with me, find your happiness, right? But I do also understand that there may be places, because I think our shortage is not evenly spread out. If you say we're 200 people short, that's 2 per school. I can guarantee you some have none, some have 1, some have 12, you know what I mean? So the vacancies are not evenly distributed either, so it's not as easy as to say there are 200 vacancies and each school has 2. And I think we can talk about the reasons why there's a kind of an uneven distribution of vacancies, and this is not the place for that. But I'm interested more in the ability just to kind of have a timeline out there during which or after which it's kind of ratcheted up to the next level. So that's kind of where I'm starting, and I don't know how we want to get this.
Can I ask you?
I said a lot of stuff. You're going to ask me what 5 words you want to use to sum it up. I get it.
I have in Article 5.03, paragraph 2, after 5 weeks of being offered a transfer, it gets escalated to?
It gets escalated to the superintendent's designee. And again, I think, upon request. So, as an employee, if I take a job at somebody else's school, I think it's incumbent on me to know there's a 5-week clock, right? And it's incumbent on me to track the 5 weeks. Because again, as employees and professionals, we have some responsibility to be employees and professionals. But I also think, like if I worked for Morgan & Morgan, offices everywhere in the universe, and I took a job in Fort Myers and there was an opening in Tampa, there would be a process within Morgan & Morgan for me to move from Fort Myers to Tampa. I mean, of course there's something in Papa John's and McDonald's, but then they're telling me to shut up. But, that's kind of where I'm at.
Thank you. Do I have any, Rob?
Just a couple of things. First of all, Amy, just so you have it right, it's 5.03, 1C2. And so, Kevin, just so I can clarify my mind, and we're probably gonna need to caucus.
Okay.
It's not automatic then. It has to be initiated by the employee, correct? Okay.
So should I put upon request of the employee?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Besides you want to caucus?
Currently, it's not.
So is that an option?
The principals and the teachers.
Was the question is that an option, or was it part of your story, or would you like to make it an option?
It is all of the above.
It's an
I
option.
mean, again, and I went to a bargaining. I went to a bargaining training over the weekend in Miami, and it was led by a guy who has, forgotten more honestly than any of us know. And one of the key things he pointed out about the interest-based process is that, it really is around goals and norms and what we both want to get out of this and how we really work together, at the table to develop language. It's not we come in with all of our possible changes to every article we want to do on the first day and we throw them at you and then you come back with them. So this is really, because it's new and unique, I think this is one of those. Right. We used to write a lot of language right here, right? And so this is one of those where we have the opportunity to develop something that gets everybody's input and maybe solves some issues.
All right, Anna?
So my question is, looking at this language, because it does say at this time, the teacher may also submit a letter of explanation for requesting the transfer, but that can only happen once the principal appeals to the superintendent? The current language?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is possibly the intent of the language. I just shudder to think, as long as I've been here, we probably wrote this language, and I'm like, what were we thinking? Anyway.
I just was trying to.
But the current way it works, honestly, is when I was in HR, I got involved when typically one of the principals called me. Yeah, usually the one who wants the employee.
Usually, yes. All right, anything else?
My team will not even give me the microphone.
The district may, you want to caucus?
Yeah, we do, just
Okay.
10 minutes, quick.
10 minutes.
We'll do it.
Okay. I will know that.
I didn't even see it. Yeah.
But I knew what it was.
Was that today? Yeah.
Okay, where are you guys want?
Oh, they called.
Yes, we did. And mainly to just kind of, we hadn't really talked about this issue much past the snapshot. So we have no issues really with the language, 5 weeks upon request. So we're prepared to test that if that's where we're at.
Okay, thank you. Herb?
Same, and that's where we're at.
Okay, let's test. Let's see if we can. Article 5.03, after 5 weeks of being offered a transfer, it gets escalated to the superintendent or designee upon request of the employee. I see thumbs. Excellent. So it's all of this. Excellent. So that means we're done with Article 5?
Yes.
Because you said Lee Virtual School is not going to be discussed at this time?
I think it's being folded into 7.
Oh, that's right. Our portal folded into 7. We've got a timeline for mid-year transfers, we've got dress code, and the extended contract saying the legislature put an end to that. So Article 5 is complete. That's 212. Okay. Let's see, it's now 6:23. We want to start Article 7, work schedule. Rob?
Sure. Not to circumvent a significant story, but I think there's a couple of things that Kerr put up as options that maybe we could knock out pretty quickly. So these were options back on March 25th.
Yes, I remember.
And I, for some reason, numbered them wrong in the minutes, and we corrected that last time. So I think there's option 2 regarding virtual instructional staff. Will be provided a virtual option for training. And I just want to clarify that that's virtual staff because that's what the option says in the minutes. Then we need to amend minutes that were already approved, so.
Yeah, the language that I emailed over to you all just said instructional staff.
Okay. Well, that may not be an easy one to knock out.
Those are all the options for virtual school.
Anna has some to add to that as well.
Okay, yes.
It does say instructional staff, the header is virtual.
It should say virtual option.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says instructional staff on the chart.
So why would it have been under virtual instruction anyway?
Well, in terms of provide a virtual option for any mandatory professional development or meetings in order to optimize participation and effectiveness.
Yeah, but was that about virtual instruction?
It was just offering a virtual option.
What does it say up at the top, though?
It says it says virtual, and then it's mandatory meetings at the top.
So I think it's the title.
All right, so what, the simple thing to do is ask her, what was the intention of the option? What was?
The intent at the time was to provide a virtual option for any mandatory professional development to any members of the TALC bargaining unit. But
and meetings. We've had some further discussion after that I can pass to Anna if you're okay with me for.
Yep, go ahead.
So is this another option?
I think maybe some story about that and clarification. Okay, so, as this option was put up, and it was read, okay, that instructional staff would have a virtual option for any mandatory professional development or meeting to optimize participation and effectiveness. So our conversations that we have had is, and we don't want to go backwards. We should not really try to go to, especially for meetings that happen at the school, to put principals in a position to now provide staff members with a virtual option for, let's say, a faculty meeting. That's not something that I think is in the best interest. I think that when we are at our school sites, if a meeting is being held, you need to walk to wherever that room is and go to the meeting. Not, I'm gonna sit in my room and do what I need to do and kind of not pay attention. I think that we need to have those meetings. So I think that as our conversation has progressed, that when we talk about meetings that happen either off-site or meetings that happen after contract hours, that if there is an option for those to have a virtual option, to where even like people that are leaving the building during the day to come down to district meetings or whatnot, just kind of looking a little bit more of those off-site, off-campus, after contract hour meetings to have a virtual option for those is where our conversation has led.
Rob, did you have?
Thank you, Anna, for that. So, because this language is something different than we thought it said, we haven't had a conversation about that.
Okay.
So, but I could go on to one of these other 5, I believe.
Jill?
So the other thing that we talked about, even with like the having a virtual option, so if you look at our notice, it does reference making sure that teachers have adequate knowledge of when meetings take place. And so one of the things that we heard from some of our virtual school teachers is that if a meeting is called and maybe it's last minute or it's emergency meeting, because administrators do need to call emergency meetings or sometimes things are happening and they need to meet with their staff, that if it's called like last minute in terms of like teachers who are normally off campus, whether, and this could even be like an emergency meeting for social workers if they're at school sites, that people who aren't like in a traditional school building, that they be giving that virtual option so that they, if you're at a school site dealing with an issue, maybe you're a social worker or an occupational therapist, that you could join virtually, or the virtual teachers, because if it's not something that they know of in advance, they may not be able to attend the meeting in person. Some of our virtual teachers are virtual because they are caregivers. And if they know 24 hours the next day, for example, they're told today there's an emergency meeting tomorrow, they may not be able to find care in that situation. So I think that's where we also talked about the idea of a virtual concept in situations where people maybe are not attached to a permanent site. Like I feel I'm attached to a permanent site. So like what Anna said, if there's a meeting, I need to walk myself to that meeting and be there. But some of our people are itinerant or they're at home, giving them a virtual option if it's a late notice meeting would be helpful.
All right, Carl.
Okay, I'm trying to process this and I think it's something that sounds like it has some possibility. What I don't want to have is something where if something is called, so for instance, I'll just use an example of when I had a staff member that passed away, where if I wanted to meet with my teachers, I would have, if I was able to get it together in terms of presenting it. I just want to avoid, because sometimes there are things that are sensitive you don't necessarily want to do virtually. So if it's like, if feasible, or sometimes if you plan an idea, something that as principals, we would want to do, maybe, but when you, if it's like mandatory or something of that nature, that then creates a potential issue. Well, you didn't include me when that was not the intent. That's my biggest hesitation, but in terms of using technology to help get messages out and things of that nature, and a lot of times people are more willing to join something if they can do it where it's convenient. But I just some of the tightness of it makes me, of the unintended consequence that could happen, but I can see some possibilities.
Kevin?
And I think, again, with Anna's clarification, I think it wouldn't affect any meeting you might call at your building for your staff. There are meetings that occur down here on a regular basis where, to be honest with you, teachers need to leave their buildings an hour or an hour and a half for the meeting to make it here. And if they didn't have to leave the hour and a half early, you know, they would have more time on campus, right? We're all short, we're all this, we're all that. We have the technology to do this virtually. And so it would also lead to more teachers on campus. And so I think that's kind of where the clarification with Anna is going. It's not the meetings at your building. Of course, if you have a regularly scheduled faculty meeting, people should be there, right? But I also think, and I want to kind of alleviate the emergency idea. Would you believe that there are schools that have an unbelievable amount of emergencies? And there are some schools that don't have it. Right? There's a school we go to recruit members, and the past 4 times we've been there, there's been a fire drill. What are the odds? And so I think when we look at the emergency thing, especially when an employee calls us, we do ask that second layer question, like, how many times have we had an emergency? Like, emergencies happen. And so if you're having a couple a year, that's great, but if you're having a couple a month, it's almost like that testing idea. We can't have planning next week because we have an emergency testing. I don't think so. You kind of know when testing's coming. So again, those kinds, and so that's the approach I take with it. And again, the place where we go to that's had 4 magical fire drills in a row on the days we've been recruiting, even though we've been on different, like not necessarily the 3rd Thursday of the month, it just seems like it's a little odd. So again, meetings in school are still attended. It's kind of the ones that where we would be able to keep people on campus for longer, so that there would be a virtual option, so they wouldn't have to. And in small amounts, it's a cost-saving measure as well, because we're not paying them mileage to drive down here. So that's 67 cents a mile for everybody in the district for 3 times a month. It might make a difference. So anyway, Hannah's next.
I think Rob had his hand up.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to squelch the conversation, but in the interest of getting an orange circle, I think if we move on to one of these others, I didn't realize the virtual, I thought it was just for virtual staff, so we're good. We've got to have some internal conversation about that. So I think number 5, which was the teachers shall attend school-related events, including but not limited to curriculum nights, 2 times per semester, 1. I think.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, I think the way that's written, we're in good shape with that one.
Okay.
Want to read that to our folks?
Teachers shall attend school-related events, including but not limited to curriculum nights, open house, and similar activities, no more than twice per semester, except where it's explicitly waived using the waiver of contract language in Article 13.05. Teachers are not required to attend outside events not expressly stated in the school calendar developed by the school calendar committee given at the beginning of each semester.
Okay, so everybody ready? Let's go for 5. Okay. Rob, was there anything else?
I think it was maybe the one on the
Meeting notice.
Say that again?
Meeting notice.
Number 3, notice of mandatory meetings to be given.
Well, we do have an adjustment to that, which is number 3. So we have some concerns, and I may have looked to the principals to sort of elucidate these points, but there is some concern about district-assigned mandatory meetings. And especially like during preschool week, and whether or not those are actually part of the school calendar or they're required potentially by the district. And then we also wanted to potentially include language where, with consultation with a TALC rep, a principal can adjust something, potentially. I know something's a bad word. Adjust or call a meeting of some type. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. This week with the superintendent change, there may be a need to bring staff together to explain a little bit of what's going on. Just something to that.
That's a genuine emergency for me, so I don't even think the group has to be called together. Like Carl was saying, unfortunately, when a staff member dies, you want to bring people together, and we don't need to reconvene a committee for that.
It is, I guess, we don't have a problem with the notice. We just want, and does someone want to talk about the district? Carl, I think, was this your point? Yeah.
Yeah, Jill's question?
So, Rob, I heard you reference like meetings during preschool week. Are you talking like the whole day in service where like social studies teachers go one? That's okay.
No, what's talking about, and now I'm kind of thinking I might have messed up with the previous deal. When it talked about school calendar committees, so there are a couple of things like the open house. That's not a school-based. It's a district requirement. Or like when they were talking, when he was presenting to us, I was thinking about second semester, when the high school graduations, those are things that we wouldn't know the date, but that's something that typically at the high school level, we require teachers to attend. So those are a couple of those things. I just wanted to separate district assigned activities. Like we don't choose the preschool date anymore. And like I said for graduation, I just wanted those to be separate because I didn't want to get in a situation where principals called out. You didn't go through the calendar committee you follow what I'm saying? I'm just thinking ahead.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Jill?
So I first want to say the big part for us is that it's not like last minute where teachers being told the first of the month that on the 30th of the month on a Saturday they have to be at their school for some event. We recognize that things are out of the school's control. So for example, I know open house now is set by the district. It used to be a school decision. And graduation is set by the district, it's not a school decision. At the same time, and I don't know when you're informed of open house. Like I don't know when that information comes to principals, if you get it before the end of the year. So, but high school graduation gets approved usually around first semester. So.
All the time. This year it was later.
Okay.
Because then they had to make a change.
We had venue issues.
Venues problems cause issues,
That's why
right?
I was saying that.
Yeah, so I think we understand that because those are typical expectations. And so like when I think of the concern perhaps around being on a calendar, we usually know when our graduation is going to be though. It's going to be in May, right? Or it's going to be, we can predict a window. So you could just put like, May 1st to the last day of school, high school graduation. Like you could give teachers a heads up that this is an expected required thing in May. And then when you have a date, you can let them know. And that's, so with some of those things that we recognize that that's separate. It's more so like last minute fall festivals or last minute curriculum nights, or it's teachers not being told in a timely manner that there's something that they need to do.
Brandon, please.
So kind of the standard practice that I have followed from the years that I've been a building rep is we've always talked, it wasn't an open house, it's meet your teacher night. I know there are some schools, elementary schools, that then do a separate open house where you come in and see the curriculum. But we've always said that, meet the teacher night is part of your job description. It's a district thing. We have, for years, when we could pick it, I was able to go to my own daughter's open house or meet the teacher. And then there was times I couldn't until she got older. But those are part of your job description. I think for high school teachers, graduation, that's part of the expectation. I don't know much about it, who goes, who doesn't. That's part of being a high school teacher. But like Jill had said, this is just those things at the school site. And so what we've always done is in semester 1, you have meet the teacher night, that's an expectation. Then you can go to, the school can plan 2 things. Usually one of them would be a parent conference night, and then whatever other fun activity. In the spring semester, it would be, again, usually it's like a parent conference night and then spring festival or curriculum night or whatever. So those things were not included, at least when I read this language. Those things were separate. And then that notice for mandatory meetings, that really goes hand in hand with the language we just approved, because we just said that they would, the school calendar committee would give that information at the start of each semester. This is like an extension of that language, putting its own separate thing that language is there, that we're notifying them through the use of the calendar committee.
All right, Rob, did I see your?
Well, I was going to potentially make some friendly amendments to the option or present a new option.
All right, go ahead.
So I would just suggest notice for mandatory meetings shall be provided at the start of each semester on the calendar developed by the school calendar committee, with the exception of district assigned meetings, and you can use graduation as an example, such as graduation or something like that. What's that? And meet the teacher, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm waiting for Amy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just trying to figure out how I want to do this. So we got this first part, notice for mandatory meetings,
Right.
with the exception. Of open house.
Of district assigned, we wanted to say.
Of district assigned.
Meetings such as, we can use open house. Is that what meet the teacher is?
No, meet the teacher is different.
Oh gosh, you think I would know that? Oh. All right, so open house, meet the teacher, graduation.
I just added it, meet the teacher, graduation. Do we want to call them meetings or events?
They're not meetings, they're events.
Yeah.
So those are mandatory events. So we want to rewrite it? You want to rewrite it, Jill?
Yeah, but teachers are mandated to be there, and that's what we're trying to cover here.
Right.
Rob?
Yeah.
Can I? I'm coming straight out of a school from this one. So I think that when we say notice for mandatory meetings, that is a different thing. So to me, notice for mandatory meetings, that is like faculty meetings, department meetings, and any type of meeting. The concern that...
So then we need to say notice for school-based mandatory meetings or something.
But graduation's not a meeting, and neither is an open house. And
It's a
so
meeting, it's just a different type of meeting. The bottom line is, I think what Kerr was trying to do, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but there's certain things that teachers have to go to, whether we call them meetings, events, and they're after time.
All right, go ahead, Kerr, let's straighten it all out.
Straighten it out. So I believe the option that we just passed was around outside events, correct?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about now.
Outside of contract event.
The notice for meetings, as Jill mentioned, were strictly school-based types of meetings. So if you want to say notice for school-based meetings or something, I think that would clear it up. Open house, graduation, curriculum nights are already listed in the option we just approved.
Fair enough, okay.
Graduation was not, but
similar activities.
Yeah, get rid of the tweak except for, well, I have another tweak at the end. But just call them notice for school-based mandatory meetings.
Right, notice for
Is that okay, Kurt?
mandatory, school-based mandatory meetings in that first line.
Oh, this is what we're supposed to do.
Yep, this is what.
All right, so my other tweak. Oh,
Why, is it, are we going to have the discussion between meetings and events again?
No, I have a
Okay.
question, so I have a question. I'm sorry, Rob, we're not trying to make things difficult, we're really trying to make sure this is clear. So, because Carl expressed concern around the language we just did the circle around, and it was specifically around graduation and open house, which are out of the control of the school calendar committee. And so I have a question, because I don't know what the rules are all the time. Can we we need to amend the language we approved, and maybe even, I don't know the words to use, like, where it says, at the start of each semester, we could put, with the exception of district-scheduled mandatory school events, including graduation, open house, like, it's not there could be a choice open house that you guys, yeah, because
you mean option 5, you wanna,
yeah,
that's fine, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, because that's what Carl's referencing, is that there are events that he no longer, yes. Just, right, no.
Remember, what's up here is not what's going in
the.
the contract.
Right.
It's gonna be tweaked as it's put into the contract anyway.
I think that we should change it, because Carl brings up a good point. There are now events that are settled at the district. Graduation has always been handled by the district, but open house was a school-based thing. I don't know if choice open house, is that?
That's a little bit of both. You try to put in a thing, but sometimes you get assigned a date.
Okay.
Not necessarily. Because you have to.
So, I just think after that language where it says that the school calendar committee provided at the start of each semester, we just need a sentence that makes it clear.
I'm gonna say does not include district-assigned mandatory school events.
Yeah, such as graduation, open house, choice open house, things like that.
I know.
This is what they're talking about for that event.
But it doesn't say beginning of each semester. It says more than twice per semester.
Need to thumb it up again.
Oh, that's above
Parent
last line.
conferences, change open house to parent conferences, for that first line. Parent.
This? Here?
School parent conferences. They find it.
Yeah.
Not the, they come in.
Yeah.
Can we take like 5 minutes? Somebody's been,
We can do this, we can go for 5 and come back.
we can be disciplined and go for 5 and come back.
All right, 5 minutes. Run. No. All right. Let's do this. Kerr?
So we have 3 more options to propose? No, I'm
In
just
5
kidding,
minutes?
I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
Oh,
I'm kidding, I'm
no,
kidding.
sorry, 4 minutes.
I'm kidding. So we discussed this and when I crafted the language, to your point, Mr. Burns, that I thought that the calendar would say, May, graduation, to be determined. August, open house, to be determined, something like that. You had a placeholder in there. So we didn't anticipate this particular issue. I think we wanted to think about it and bring it back so that we can tweak the language so that it fits everybody and not just do this on the fly.
Number 5 too?
Yeah. That was a little unintended. In maybe the 2 minutes we have left, the team wanted to recap our next couple of dates just so we make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay. So you need to know what our next few dates are?
Next Thursday.
Yeah, and I just wanted everybody to know ahead of time. Gonna embarrass her.
Oh, I was gonna.
Amy's daughter's being inducted into the Lee County Sports Hall of Fame.
Yay!
So she won't be here.
Well deserved.
Neither will Mr. Burnside, because she was a student
one
of
of his
his.
students, right?
We'll definitely talk about compensation with an extra 15 million.
So
And then I think we meet again on the 22nd.
that's what I have as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So the
Okay.
22nd and the 18th.
Correct.
Okay.
But I also have the 29th. No, wait.
29 is stop.
29th spell.
No, hold on.
We have May 6th.
Yes, I heard it.
Yeah, that's right. Those are the next 3.
All right, that's what I have.
Okay, we're good?
Donna, before we get done, I just wanted to unfortunately announce that Teresa Battaglioli, who has served us well over the years in HR, this will be her last bargaining session. And she's retiring, so she's not going to work somewhere else. So congratulations, Teresa, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Teresa, for all you've done. And with that,
Well, before we go, I just want to say that this was perhaps the most interest-based night
Very good.
in 18 months. Right?
Because the minutes have the story on it, not.
Is that why it is the minutes have the story on them? Okay, is that all that was holding us up?
Yeah.
So, good work.
It's all about you, Anna.
Good work tonight, everybody, but really interest-based.
all right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.